All right. Good morning. I'm Parole Officer Trisell, and I'm a hearing examiner at the Board of Pardons and Paroles. This is a revocation hearing concerning Dezsmond Robinson, inmate number 409341. Today is Tuesday, February 4th, 2025, and this hearing is being conducted via video at the Board of Pardons and Paroles Central Office and Osborn Correctional Institution. Can you please state your full name and DOC inmate number for the record?
Dezsmond Daquan Robinson. Inmate number is 409341.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. Present this morning, we have the defense's attorneys. Can you both please identify yourself for the record?
I'm attorney Brian Woolf with attorney Katrina Ross, who's here from the Woolf Law and Ross Law Firm representing Mr. Robinson.
Thank you. So this is a revocation hearing to determine whether you have violated the conditions of your release. I will review and make findings of facts as to each of the charges against you. The state, not you, has a responsibility to prove the allegation by a preponderance of evidence, and that is the better or weightier evidence must establish that more probably than not the allegation is true. If I do not find that there is a preponderance of evidence to support a violation of one or more of the conditions of your parole, I'll reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will consider whether or not your parole should be revoked. And if I recommend revocation, I will make a recommendation as to the appropriate sanction. A recommendation will then be given to a panel for a final decision. And if the panel wishes to impose a sanction beyond my recommendation, a supplemental hearing will be provided to justify additional confinement. You should know that a revocation hearing is an adversarial proceeding, and anything you say at this hearing can be used against you. This hearing is also being recorded. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. So, Mr. Robinson, can you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God upon penalty of perjury.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So I'm going to go over the procedure for the hearing. First, I'm going to read you your rights. Then we're going to review the parole violation charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you. I will then review and identify the exhibits files for the record. The state is not present at today's proceedings. However, you will have an opportunity to present any relevant testimony and any relevant documents. After considering all the evidence presented, I will announce my findings. And if I find that you violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, you will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you do have important rights of this hearing, and I'm going to review them with you now. So the first right you have is to be represented by an attorney, and counsel is here present for you. You also have the right to receive written notice of the charges of violation. Did you receive the written notice?
Yes, ma'am.
You also have the right to review the evidence against you before this hearing. You have the right to submit evidence in support of your case. You have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses, and you have the right to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand these rights, and are you ready to go forward?
Yes, ma'am.
So we are now going to review the charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you, and the information underlying each charge. So on charge number 1, condition of absconder, the charging officer reported that on January 18, 2024, you signed out of the Stein halfway house, your only parole-approved residence, for an appointment at CRT in Hartford with a return time of 2 p.m. When you failed to return to the Stein halfway house at your scheduled return time, staff attempted to contact you to confirm your whereabouts, and you failed to make contact. Stein halfway house contacted CRT in Hartford and were informed that you did not have an appointment on January 18, 2024. Further attempts were made to contact you via your cell phone and no response. Attempts to locate you at a local hospital and police department with negative findings. Over the subsequent days, your assigned PO attempted to locate you via calls to your cell phone, calls to your family members, and calls to local hospital and police departments with negative findings. Parole staff attempted to physically locate you in the town of Bristol with no success. You have made no effort to return to the Stein halfway house, your only parole-approved residence, or to make contact with your assigned PO. Your behavior demonstrates your intent to evade parole supervision, and your whereabouts in the community have been unknown since January 18, 2024. On charge number 2, condition of travel, the charging officer reported that on October 7, 2024, you were located in Roxbury, Massachusetts by Boston Police Fugitive Unit and taken into custody as a fugitive from justice. On October 8, 2024, you appeared in Massachusetts trial court in Boston and signed a waiver of extradition. You do not have permission from your parole officer to leave the state of Connecticut, and based on your actions, you're in violation of your release condition travel. In addition, the state has filed the following exhibits that have been marked for identification purposes, and that's Exhibit A, Notice of Parole Violation, Exhibit B, the Notice of Parolee Rights, Exhibit C, the Remand to Actual Custody Order, Exhibit D, PCS Signed Conditions, Exhibit E, Halfway House Agreement, Exhibit F, Community Solutions, Inc. Incident Report, Exhibit G, the Parole Violation Report, Exhibit H, the Boston Police Incident Report number 242085643, and Exhibit I, the Waiver of Extradition. Also, the state has filed an addendum to the Parole Violation Report on October 9th, 2024, and it's also admitted into evidence and reads as follows. In reference to the Parole Violation Report submitted by P.O. Stickles regarding Robinson Dezmond number 409341, the following applies. On February 23rd, 2024, the Board of Parole issued a warrant based on the report declaring the offender an absconder from special parole supervision. On February 26, 2024, the case was transferred to the FIU for investigation. And on October 7, 2024, Mr. Robinson was located in Roxbury, Massachusetts, and taken into custody as a fugitive from justice, 276-20A-0. A copy of the warrant was supplied to Roxbury District Court on October 21st, 2024. Parole Officer Kwasnick and Liberato assumed custody of Robinson in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, served his notice of parole violation, parolee rights, and returned him to the Hartford Correctional Center where he remained, where a remand to custody order was lodged. So, counsel, did you and your client receive the notice of parole violation, the parole violation report, and all the other documents that have been marked for identification purposes? Oh, I can't hear you. But it doesn't say muted. Officer Benedict, Miss Benedict, any thoughts?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I can't hear Attorney Ross.
They are unmuted.
Yeah.
Attorney Woolf, can I check that we hear you?
I can hear you, Madam Hearing Officer.
We can hear you.
Attorney Ross, do you know that you have your microphone working?
It's not working. Attorney Ross, it's let me go to her. Let me just go. She's in the next office. May I check for one moment, Madam Hearing Officer?
Okay, yeah, take your time.
Or I'll have her come into my office and she can do it from there.
Okay.
Want to do it from here? Okay, I'm going to have her. She's going to make the argument to the hearing officer in this matter. So it must be something wrong with her microphone. So I'll step away from mine and she'll take mine. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
My apologies, Madam Hearing Officer. I'm not sure what is wrong with that.
No problem.
right.
So Attorney Ross, did you and your client receive the notice of parole violation, the parole violation report, and all the other documents that have been identified?
Yes, we did, Your Honor. Yes, we did.
Did you review the information as well?
We did, and we spent some time with Mr. Robinson going over everything.
Great. So then at this time, I have received exhibits from the defense as well. I have Exhibit 1, a character reference letter from Ada Robinson. Exhibit 2, a character reference letter from Eloise Smith. Exhibit 3, a character reference letter from Mateo Amaral. Exhibit 4, a map. And before I submit Exhibit 5 in for evidence, Attorney Ross, can you please explain the relevance of a judicial branch case detail for Tiana Yellings to the charges that have been brought against Mr. Robinson?
Yes, absolutely. We intend to explain that the impetus for Mr. Robinson leaving the halfway house was based on harassment and threats from Miss Yelling. We'll establish that they had a previous relationship and that she was involved with his previous violation, and that during the time he spent at Stein, she made repeated contact with him at the halfway house, was causing disturbances, and that was part of the reason why Mr. Robinson made the decision to leave.
So I am not going to admit that into evidence because I'm going to take your testimony for it instead to explain what it stands for and what it means. And I have noted that, and again, you'll have the opportunity to speak to it more, okay?
Understood.
So those are the 4 pieces of evidence that I'm going to accept from the defense. Do you need any additional time to submit other evidence at this point, Attorney Ross?
No, just testimony from Mr. Robinson, and then I'll have a summation of arguments. Procedurally, would you like me to do that at the end of the testimony, or will there be a time to make those arguments after you hear from Mr. Robinson?
Yep, so first we're gonna go through the findings. You'll be able to address the charges against him. And then once a finding is or isn't made, if we move on to the second part of the mitigating circumstances,
Right.
You'll be able to do that. So it is now your opportunity to call any witnesses, present evidence, and speak to the charges of the evidence submitted. Do you still intend to have Ms. Manning testify?
We have her present if there is a need to expound further on something that Mr. Robinson may comment on. At this time, I anticipate mostly hearing from Mr. Robinson himself, but Ms. Manning is available if the hearing officer would like to hear further.
Okay, so at this time, we will not admit her as a witness. And before we do, if it comes to that, I will just want to know the relevance as well, okay?
Wonderful.
Great, so then it is now your opportunity to speak to the charges or any of the evidence submitted.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Dezmond. How are you?
Morning, I'm doing good. How you doing today?
Very good. Thank you. Can you take me back to when you were reinstated on special parole? When were you released and placed at Stein?
If I'm not mistaken, it was November 11th. They had put me in another halfway house. It was either Sterling Street or Irving Street. I can't remember the exact street, but they had moved me because they said that I had a prior contact or relation with somebody that worked there. So they moved me to Stein House the next day.
How long did you stay at Starling House?
Like literally overnight. Then they moved me to Stein.
All right. So on the records we have was that you were released on November 10th. And you started your special parole at Stein Halfway House. How long were you at that house before you noticed any issues occurring?
3 weeks, if that, about 3 weeks.
After those 3 weeks, what happened?
Well, that's when my ex came to halfway house. Oh, I'm happy you're home, glad you're home, da da da, and it threw me off guard because when I wasn't expecting for that to happen in general.
Who is your ex?
Tiana Yellen.
How long have you known Miss Yelling?
Since I was 16.
And what do you know about Miss Yelling as far as her contact with law enforcement?
Oh yeah, she done been in jail for assault. She's just beat a attempt murder case. She was involved in my violation.
Yes, tell me a little bit about that. You had a past violation, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that violation was for possession of narcotics, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Was Miss Yelling involved in that incident at all?
Oh, yes, ma'am. So with that incident, so she had came to my parole house and destroyed my whole entire parole house. Put mustard and ketchup over all my clothes, broke windows. Then she had, I don't want to say kidnapped, but she had confined me to her car, pepper sprayed me, assaulted me, all that. My past parole officer, Miss McClain, she was aware of the situation. She responded to the calls and everything, so they know the history that I've had with this female.
When you were at the Stein house in November of 23, was anyone there aware of the history that you had with Miss Yelling?
They weren't aware until the first incident. I'm like, yo, I don't know why she's popping up. I didn't schedule a visit. I never asked her to come through. I don't have no contact with her. But because she lived 2 streets down from the halfway house, and you could type my name into DOC, you could see where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? So that threw me off. Then I told the PO at the time, who was Sickles. I don't want to say her name, or Stickles or Sickles. I told her at the time, and also made it aware to the staff that was there.
And hearing officer, I'd like to take just notice of the map. It shows where Miss Yelling lived. Do you remember the name of her apartment complex?
I don't remember the name of the apartment complex, but it's on the corner of Asylum and Garden, which is literally a 5-minute walk from me.
So on the corner of Asylum and Garden, that's the Capitol View Apartments, is that correct?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, and that's just a few blocks from where the Stein house is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you began to see Miss Yelling while you were in the Stein halfway house. Can you describe a little bit about what she was doing and how she was contacting you?
All right, so after the first time when she's trying to be, yo, I miss you, da da da. I'm like, I'm straight with you. Like, I don't got time to go do this again. I've already been to jail prior to our toxicity in our relationship. I'm straight. So that time she proceeded to come to the halfway house and harass me. Oh, if you don't want to be with me, then nigga, nobody gonna be with you. Da da da. Just doing up the most, starting to shoot me a couple times. She used to post up outside the halfway house or near bus stops. There's a corner store on Sydney and Ashley. She was to post up over there. There's a bus stop right across the street from that I needed to get on to get to work. So if I would see her, either I would avoid her or I have to worry about being yelled at and all types of toxic stuff while there's everybody else outside. There's times where I was supposed to go to church and I denied going to church because when I walked outside, she was there. So it was just the most.
You said that she threatened to shoot you a couple of times. How did she threaten to shoot you?
So I want to say this is probably about two months after me constantly avoiding her, because like I said, she would post about 5.5 months. Yo, come with me, I'll give you a ride wherever you gotta go, da da da. So avoiding her, not taking a ride, da da whatever. She comes to the house, she's knocking on the door, da da da, and she's bugging on the staff. Mind you, I don't know she's there. So she's bugging on the staff like, yo, where the fuck is Robinson? Da da da. Well, she called me by my nickname, but where the fuck is Robinson? Da da da. Boom. So I come down. So they call me downstairs like, yo, you got a visitor. Somebody's outside bugging. So I come downstairs. I'm like, yo, what up? I'm like, who is it? I see her. Nigga, I'm gonna fucking shoot you. This, that, da da da. Like, nigga, you're mine and nobody else is yours. Da da da. Boom. If you're not with me, not with nobody. Da da da. So it was just like.
So this was an incident that happened at Stein halfway house.
Oh yeah, this happened. Yeah, there's an inmate here right now who can, y'all probably can't call him, but he can testify to seeing this incident. And I also just found this out. When I left the halfway house, she came to the halfway house trying to get all of my property in it. So I didn't even know that either.
So
I just found out 2 weeks ago.
With this first incident at Stein, were there any witnesses?
Yeah, there was, so the staff, I just found out her name was Charmaine. The whole time I thought it was Patricia, so I apologize for giving y'all the misinformation on the name. But Charmaine had moved all the other I don't want to call them inmates, other people at the halfway house, that was there, told them to go upstairs. They all went upstairs and I'm downstairs. And the staff went, one was in the room, the main office, another one was standing further back.
Did you discuss this incident with your parole officer, Stickles?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And go ahead. What was her response?
It was more, so I told her off, like, yo, I want to get an interstate compact. Like, I want to get out of here. I can't stay here because with me being in Connecticut, it's going to cause this to be a constant problem, especially in halfway house. Because in halfway house, my exact words was, you can type my name in just like DOC and you can see where I'm at. And I don't want to keep going through this and come back to jail over just a bunch of BS. So I was told I had to wait 3 months for my ticket, whatever, to clear, and then from there I could put in the paperwork, which would take a 6 months process, so it'd be a 9-month wait.
And did you speak to anybody else? Did you speak to the Stein house manager, Jacob?
Yeah, I spoke to him on rip. As soon as it happened, he came to question me the next day. He was like, "Yo, what happened? Like, what's going on? I'm hearing stuff going on." I'm like, "Yeah, X, like, I'm trying to get out of here." I told him the same thing, like, if anything that you could do to talk to sickos about getting me out of here, I'd appreciate it. He said the only thing that he could do is move me to the halfway house, which wouldn't solve my problem.
Because you were concerned that she would still be able to look you up and find where you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's up in the Middletown. She typed my name in, found out what halfway house I was getting letters, I was getting bits from all them.
Now, when she threatened to shoot you, did you believe that was an actual threat?
Hell yeah.
And why do you believe that?
I'm not trying to, it's all, but she didn't time before shooting before. She shot one of her exes. Like, it's happened before.
Okay. Now, was there another incident that happened at the halfway house?
As far as her, or just in general?
Yeah, as far as her. Didn't she come at least twice?
Oh yeah, she made constant attempts to try to contact me at the halfway house while I was there, like knock on the door, causing problems, just the most. or she'll be, like I said, she'll post up outside. Like she'll literally be, so when I had a job at UPS, I have to leave at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. When she found out where I was working at, because like I said, she's from Hartford. She lives in Hartford. So a lot of people that work there are from Hartford. Like we have a similar circle. She would find out what time I'm working at. She'll, yo, let me give you a ride to work. Now I'm straight, like I'm good. Then she'll phone me to the bus stop. Yo, come on, get in the car. Like, stop being a bitch. Like, what you mean? Like, chill. Like, I'm just trying to, for me.
Did you ever receive threatening messages on Facebook from her?
Yes,
And
definitely. Yes. My ex has had received messages also. I mean, not my ex, my current wife right now has received messages also.
Did you block her on Facebook?
Immediately.
And did she still find ways to contact you online?
She would make fake profiles. So you had T-Baby Tats, you had Miss Princess, you had Princess Rose. And if she couldn't contact me directly, she would contact my wife.
So while this was going on, how many times did you request of DOC staff, either your parole officer or the Steinhouse manager, that you be transferred via interstate compact?
I asked parole twice and I asked the manager 3 times, because I asked parole twice because I didn't know if I wanted to go to Arizona or Boston. So I asked them twice about that, but I talked to the staff 3 times specifically because I was trying to see, I'm not gonna lie, if they can pull any strings and do whatever they can to get me out of here. I didn't want to stay here.
And they were well aware of your intention to make sure that you were not in a situation where Miss Yelling had access to you.
Yeah, like why would I want to stay somewhere where it could put me in a position to come out to jail or to end up losing my life? There's no need for that. Like I'm tired. I'm tired of jail in general, and I'm too young to die. I'm sorry. Like I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody or that my life is more important than anybody else's. But I'm only 28 years old. By the time I was 27, I still have a lot of life to live.
And just very briefly, hearing officer, I want to make it clear that we had Miss Manning, who is our investigator from New Light Investigation, go to the halfway house or her staff several times. Officer Bartnick is no longer the manager there. And she contacted Mary Judy, who is the officer there, several times. One of her staff spoke to her in person, was supposed to receive a follow-up. They did not receive any follow-ups. They then contacted Fernando Muniz with the department to ask where they could get in touch with Mr. Bartnick and where they could get in touch with the staff that witnessed these incidents at the halfway house. No one returned their calls or their emails, and they even contacted a high-up DOC administrator to try to find some sort of contact number to get in touch with Mr. Bartnick. And that's why Miss Manning is here, if you want to hear from her to verify the fact of what they did to try to verify what Mr. Robinson is telling us. But unfortunately, we were not able to obtain that information from DOC because that staff is not there and they would not release any contact information to us so that we could get a statement from them.
Okay. No, I think your testimony is sufficient.
Okay.
I'll note that. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Miss Manning, for being present. Very briefly after this, when you made the decision to eventually leave, were you in fear of Miss Yelling on the day in question?
Oh yeah, so keep game. When I left, all right, cool. I don't know why they're saying that I wasn't scheduled for CRT because the previous day prior to that, I had missed an appointment because I had work. So they said they're gonna reschedule. No, I'm sorry, I'm lying to you. They had said that so when I went there, I was sitting in the lobby for about 45 minutes to an hour. I don't know if they just didn't know I was there or they forgot about me, had too much going on. They had rescheduled me for the next day. So I did have an appointment for CRT that day. Again, I don't know why they're saying I didn't. So when I went to go leave to go to CRT, old girls is in front of the halfway house. Yo, where are you going? What you mean where I'm going? I got stuff I gotta do. Let me give you a ride. No, I'm straight. What you mean straight? So yo, I'm good. Got on the bus, dipped off. She couldn't follow the bus with all the traffic. Got off. I'm like, yo, I'm not going back to the halfway house. I'm not about to deal with this. I don't have time to deal with this, bro. I'm not about to keep every day constant. Then it's only a matter of time before something of physical, of physicality takes place. You know what I'm saying? So instead of putting myself in that position, I'm straight. I'm not going back. I'm sorry. I can't keep going this. I done already told parole and halfway house about the situation going on, and it seems like nobody's done anything I'm saying. So I'm straight. Like I'd rather take the little bit of whatever time I get for a violation than either dead or end up in jail for a lot more time. It's like choosing the lesser of two evils. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So when you left, you definitely felt like your requests were being ignored. You were scared, and you were kind of in a self-preservation mode at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
When you went to Boston, where did you stay?
I stayed with my grandmother.
And what did you do with your grandmother there?
Well, when I first got there, in all honesty, she didn't want me there. She was like, yo, you are a felon. You've been to jail. My grandmother's a real, like, law-abiding woman. She does not play none of that at all. So at first she wanted me there. It took me 2 weeks to show her that I wasn't the same person I was. For me, at first she's like, yo, you gotta leave. I'm like, grandma, just give me your time and I'm gonna show you like I'm not the same person. So when I was there, I was helping her out around the house. I was doing mad handiwork in the house, painting the house, fix steps, fix walls, flooring, all that. Anything she needed help with. And she went out to go to the grocery stores, helped her with that, this, that, and third. Then I also did work for Mrs. Smith's son. Work with him. He's a minister. I also did. I was doing tattooing. I was doing a lot of tattooing, and I have my own business now as far as training and breeding dogs. So when I was out in Boston, I lived a better life I did out there than I ever did in Connecticut. Like I was. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Please. I'm sorry to interrupt. You were speaking very well. Go ahead.
Out there, I was, even though I was quote unquote on the run, I was living the life of a civilian. There was no more gang banging. I put that life behind me. I wasn't selling no drugs. I immediately, that my last relation, I'm like, I'm straight. I went out there and did legal work.
Were you ever arrested or cited for any infraction while you were in Boston?
No, ma'am. And I know that people will try to say that, oh, well, you're on the run. Of course you weren't. But at the same time, I wasn't hiding. I was out there doing regular stuff. There was no need for me to have police contact because I'm not out there trying to duck the police. I'm living my life and I had a family. I have a wife now. I have 2 businesses now. I was helping my grandma. My grandmother is 75 years old. To me, so she's older. Like she wouldn't go for any of that anyway. If anything would have happened, she would have been. I mean, she would have been the one to call the police. Like, yo, he's here. Come and get him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what's your grandmother's name?
Ada Robinson.
Do you know? Did she write a letter on your behalf for this matter?
Yes, ma'am. That surprised me because I wasn't expecting that.
What do you mean you weren't expecting that?
Like I said, she doesn't like anything to do with police or anything to do with not on some. She doesn't like police, but she's law abiding. So anything that has to do with criminal or criminology, she doesn't partake in at all. So the fact that she wrote me a character witness letter that showed a lot to me because she didn't like me before.
And who is Alois Smith?
Alois Smith, that is, if I'm not mistaken, that's the neighbor across the street.
And what was your relationship with her?
She's so her and my grandma are around the same age. She's probably a little older. She's like 86 or 84. She's also somebody else who I was helping out her house, cut her lawn, I painted her house for her. Anytime she'd go to the groceries, I'm helping her there. Like she became, I don't want to say family because she's not obviously not related to me, but she became a very, very close individual to me, even though she's a lot older.
And she wrote a letter on your behalf as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And who's Mateo Amoral?
That's my business partner. So me and him have a dog kennel and a dog training business. For me, so knowing that I love dogs, it's my passion. I love dogs. So instead of me going back to hood ways of making money, I figured why not put something I'm passionate about to make money? I can train a dog in less than 2 weeks. I taught my 8-month-old American Pit Bull Terrier how to military crawl in 2 hours. I could teach her nonverbal commands. She listens to everything I say, I don't gotta say anything. So with him, and he's a lot younger than me. So it's like when he's seen what I was doing, that I'm on positivity, because he's not from the streets at all. He's from Stoughton, Massachusetts. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but that's not a hood area. It's a very upper class area. He jumped on the wave with me. Like that's like I talk to him every day on email. I call him every day. It's like a really close friend of mine. Like I mess with him heavy. So the fact that I have all these different people that wrote letters to me, I never had that day in my life before. It was always negative stuff, negative connotations about me. Oh, he's this or he's that. He's a hoodlum or he's all about violence or he's about this, that, and the third. Now that I can show that I am not the same person I was, I've been doing positive things in the world, like it makes me feel good. I never had that before. I was always stuck in the hood ideology of being popular or being or successful. That's whack. It's played out. I'm tired of that. Like I want to be a successful person, a successful civilian with something I can show for. I have stuff to show for now. I had nothing to show for nothing else before. All the drugs I sold, or people I robbed, I had nothing to show for that. Nothing at all. Now that I have businesses and legal money, I have stuff to show for it. Like I got a wife, like we're married, or sorry, we're filing the paperwork to be married. I have dogs that I can show. I have training. I have videos on Facebook. I have all this. I have actual things that I can show my work, my positivity in the community.
And upon your release, if you were allowed the compact, do you have a sponsor that would be willing to have you live with them in Boston if you were granted release and then followed the interstate compact?
Yes, ma'am.
And where would you be living?
My grandmother's house.
Do you understand that upon your release, you will have a process that you must follow in order to get back to Boston?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you willing to follow that process?
I am. If I can get back to Boston, which is I've lived my best for a year, no trouble at all, no toxic trouble, no fights, no nothing. If I can get back to Boston where I have shown that I am successful at, where I don't got to worry about past relationships, past gang members I dealt with, or any of that stuff, if I get back to Boston, I'll be fine. I don't have nothing to worry about. I can live a successful, lawful life.
And you're willing to follow the procedures that you need to do in order to get there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have any further questions, officer.
Thank you. So I'm just going to take a moment and I'll announce my findings. So for charge number 1, the condition of absconder, I am going to find that you violated that condition, Mr. Robinson. And it is based on the evidence that the state has presented in Exhibit D, F, and G. And on charge number 2, I'm also finding that you violated the condition of travel based on state's Exhibits D, G, H, and I. So that does conclude the fact-finding portion of this hearing. Now is the mitigating part. However, I have heard a lot of testimony. So do you have anything additional that you want to add to it? Because I do understand it sounds like you were going through something, but there is a procedure and there is a way to do it. And I've heard a lot of good things from you, that it sounds like you were doing positive things, but still made a negative choice, a bad choice to get to that position, unfortunately. So anything additional you'd like to say to me, give me information on your history, more background information before I make my recommendation?
The only thing I want to say is this. I'm not going to say that I'm not in violation for leaving Hartford. I didn't. I'm not trying to make it seem like I have an excuse. Oh, well, because this happened, y'all can't. No, I did what I did. Like, that's just the facts. But what I will say is that even though that did happen, I have shown that I am not trying to stay into the quote unquote criminal life. So I have no problem taking accountability for my actions. That's not a problem at all. My previous history in life, I've never done that. I don't take accountability. I try to push off other things. That's just not what it is. The only reason I left is because I felt as though the decision I made was a smart decision, but I did know the consequences. I knew that I was possibly facing coming back to jail. That's just what I couldn't be on the run for the rest of my life. I knew it was a possibility, but I just wanted to show that I am not quote unquote the same individual I was when I caught my case in 2015, or the violation I caught just 2 years ago.
Officer, if I could just provide a brief summation. You have heard a lot from Mr. Robinson, and we've had the chance to work with Mr. Robinson now for several months, and he is a very eloquent man, and he understands the position that he is in. He told us once before that he knows he didn't make the right decision, but he made what was right for him at that time, because he knows that Yelling and the life that she represents is one that's going to lead him back to jail. He's either going to pick up a new charge, or it's going to end up in threats, or he may be hurt. It's very valid that he was scared when Miss Yelling said, "I'm going to shoot you," that there was proof in the past to show that she was capable of that. And it's not an excuse, but Mr. Robinson was in an impossible situation, and he knew he was either going to go back to jail, either from picking up a new charge, or he was going to try to get his life straight and face whatever consequence he needed to face. And again, not an excuse, but he made a choice where he was able to get himself into an environment where he was able to thrive. It really strikes me deeply that he is a man that has never had anything positive said about him. And now that he has 3 letters of support that show that he has value, that he has worth, and that he knows he needs to do the right thing so that he can live up to those expectations. He kept himself out of trouble the best way that he knew how. And while not excusable, we believe that the 4 months that he's already served, he's been in, as of today, 121 days in custody, is time enough for the punishment of the absconding charge. We would ask for time served on that. He does fully understand he's going to have to be compliant until the interstate compact is granted and goes through. So he will again be monitored for, it could take several months before he's back in Boston. And he's eager to prove to the department, to himself, and to the people that are waiting for him and counting on him that he can do it. So we'd ask that any sanction at this point be time served, allow him to get out, get his feet under him, get his interstate compact started, and get him back to the place where he can be a productive citizen, which is the goal of incarceration and monitoring. And I believe that Mr. Robinson is on the right track. He just needs to follow the right steps to get there again.
Thank you. So again, I'm just going to take a moment. Okay, so I have listened to the testimony today, and I have reviewed all of the evidence that has been submitted. Based on that, Mr. Robinson, I am going to recommend your parole be revoked and that you serve a 6-month sanction of confinement with a re-parole date of April 21st, 2025. In addition, I'm going to recommend the following conditions: no consumption of alcoholic beverages, no contact with co-defendants Alan Matthews, Amari Hoylett, John Gonsalves, Denzel Hardy, or Tyreek Stevenson. No contact with victim SB, mental health treatment. Do you have a sponsor here for Connecticut, or would you need a halfway house placement?
I would need a halfway house placement.
Where would you like the location to be?
Is Middletown possible?
I can do Middletown. Do you want something further than Hartford? Middletown's not too far from Hartford. It sounds like Hartford doesn't seem to be the best situation for you.
Yeah, but anywhere else also puts me at a situation with my prior life. I was a gang member, so I don't want to be in Waterbury or New Haven or Bridgeport. So I just want to be somewhere where I can be to myself, do what a little bit I gotta do, and possibly back to Boston.
All right, so I'll note Middletown then.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As your attorney has clearly stated, you do know it is a process though, Mr. Robinson, right? It
Yes,
is going to take those 3 months of compliance before you can request the transfer. And we do say the transfer does take up to 6 months. It's up to Massachusetts. It could be faster, it could be whatever it is, but you got to just focus on end game. What's important in the end, because coming back, because you're doing pretty well up there, it sounds like, what's the point of coming back, right? Yeah. All right. So my findings are going to go to the board on February 20th. And you'll receive a written notice after that date of their decision. At that hearing, they can do a few things. They can adopt my recommendation. They can lower it if they choose to do so, or they can request a sanction longer than what I've recommended. If they do request the sanction longer than what I recommended, you'll be notified of a supplemental hearing and the reasons why they want to have it. And you'll also be present for it to address their concerns, okay?
Okay.
All right, any questions right now from anyone?
No, thank you, Officer. Dezmond, any questions?
No, thank you. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you taking your time to listen to me. I appreciate you, both of y'all too, Mr. Woolf and Ms. Ross.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this does conclude the revocation hearing for Dezsmond Robinson, inmate number 409341. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My bad, Jack. It's somewhat
Yes, you can go back.
Hi, Mr. Cruz. How are you?
Cruz.
Mr. Cruz, I got you. I got to just go find your attorney. Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm nervous.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Cruz. How are you today?
I'm good. A little nervous, but I'm good.
That's all right. So I'm Parole Officer Chisello. I'm the hearing examiner at the Board of Pardons and Paroles, and this is a revocation hearing concerning Hector Cruz, inmate 414957. Today is Tuesday, February 4th, 2025, and this hearing is being conducted via video at the Board of Pardons and Paroles Central Office in Osborn Correctional Institution. Can you please say your full name and DOC inmate number for the record?
Hector Cruz, 414957.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. Present this morning is Attorney Sirica. Attorney Sirica, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Sure. Attorney Alfonzo Sirica, Public Defender with the Parole Revocation Unit, on behalf of Mr. Cruz this morning.
Thank you. So this is a revocation hearing to determine whether you have violated the conditions of your release. I'll review and make findings of facts as to each of the charges against you. The state, not you, has the responsibility to prove the allegations by a preponderance of evidence, and that is the better or weightier evidence must establish that more probably than not, the allegation is true. If I do not find that there is a preponderance of evidence to support a violation of one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will consider whether or not your parole should be revoked. And if I recommend revocation, I will make a recommendation as to the appropriate sanction. A recommendation will then be given to the panel for a final decision. And if the panel wishes to impose a sanction beyond my recommendation, a supplemental hearing will be provided to justify additional confinement. You should know that an revocation hearing is an adversarial proceeding, and anything you say at this hearing can be used against you. This hearing is also being recorded. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. Mr. Cruz, can you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury.
Yes.
Thank you. So we're going to go over the procedure for the hearing now. You can put your hand down. You're all set. So first I'm going to read your rights. Then we're going to review the parole violation charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you. I'll then review and identify the exhibits filed for the record. The state is not present at today's proceedings. However, you will have an opportunity to present any relevant testimony and any relevant documents. After considering all the evidence presented, I'll announce my findings. And if I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, you'll have an opportunity to speak to your background and history. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
No, I just asked that certain words I would not understand, so, I try to understand you the best I can.
So Hector, if there's something you don't understand, raise your hand and I'll try to explain it to you, okay?
Okay,
All right. So you do have important rights at today's hearing. The first right is you have the right to be represented by an attorney and counsel is here present for you. You also have the right to receive the written notice of charges of violation. Did you receive the written notice?
yes,
You have the right to review the evidence against you. Before this hearing, you have the right to submit evidence in support of your case. You also have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses and to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Mr. Cruz, do you understand these rights and are you ready to go forward?
yes,
Okay, so we are now going to review the charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you and the information underlying each charge. So for charge number 1, condition of absconder, the charging officer reported that on June 24th, 2024, you left your only parole-approved residence, the Walter Burks Halfwood House, without authorization from your parole officer or program staff. This was your only parole-approved address, and you did not have permission to leave. Your current whereabouts are unknown, and you have failed to make contact with your parole officer nor halfway house staff. Charge number 2, conditions of obedience to the law. The charging officer reported that on August 13, 2024, you were arrested by the New Haven Police Department and charged with violation of Connecticut General Statute 53A-223, criminal violation of a protective order, and Connecticut General Statute 53A-181, breach of peace second degree, and 53A-116, criminal mischief. 3 counts of criminal mischief. On charge number 3, condition of halfway house placement, the charging officer reported that on June 7, 2024, you signed out of the Walter Burks Halfway House on an approved community pass for work. You were released at 5:30 a.m. with a return time of 7 p.m. and you were only permitted to go to work at the Milford Barrel located at 100 Warwick Street in New Haven, Connecticut. However, when employment specialist Keith Thomas contacted a random employment check, it was revealed that you never reported to work. Attempts to contact you and locate you at the local hospital and police station were unsuccessful, and you finally returned to the Walter Burks Halfway House at 9 p.m. Your whereabouts in the community were unknown for approximately 13 hours and 30 minutes. This was in violation of your halfway house agreement, specifically the first and second bullet points. I will not leave the physical confines of the halfway house unless authorized by program staff or parole. And I will only go to locations indicated on approved community pass unless changes have been authorized by staff. And I will return to the halfway house from community pass at my scheduled return time. If I am unable to do so, I will call the program staff to explain why I'm expecting to be late and receive a new return time. The state has filed the following exhibits. I have added one. So that are marked for identification purposes. We have Exhibit A, the notice of parole violation. Exhibit B, the notice of parole rights. Exhibit C, the conditions of parole. Exhibit G, the halfway house agreement. Exhibit E, the remand to custody. Exhibit F, the residential discipline report dated 6/7/2024. Exhibit G, the offender misconduct report dated 6/7/2024. Exhibit H, the incident report dated 6/24/2024. Exhibit I, the New Haven PD Police Report number 24-033225. And I've identified parole violation report as Exhibit J. In addition, the state has filed 2 addendums to the parole violation report that are admitted into evidence and read as follows. The first was on August 14, 2024, and states in reference to the parole violation report submitted by the parole officer regarding Cruz Hector number 414957. The following applies. On July 29, 2024, the Board of Pardons and Paroles issued a warrant based on the report declaring Cruz an absconded from parole supervision. On August 5, 2024, the case was referred to DOC Parole Fugitive Investigation Unit for investigation and apprehension. On August 13, 2024, Cruz was apprehended by the New Haven Police Department with new criminal charges. Cruz was charged with violation of protective order, breach of peace second degree, and 3 counts of criminal mischief second degree. On August 13, 2024, Cruz was arraigned in New Haven Superior Court, GA23, and his case has been continued to September 11, 2024. On August 14, 2024, Cruz was served his notice of parole violation as well as his notice of parole rights at New Haven Correctional Center. The second addendum was submitted on January 14, 2025, and states that on December 11, 2024, Hector Cruz appeared at GA23 New Haven Superior Court on docket number N23N CR 24-0255474S for the following criminal charges: violation of protective order, breach of peace second, and 3 counts of criminal mischief second degree. Cruz was sentenced to 10 months jail for the violation of protective order and given unconditional discharge for the breach of peace second degree. 3 counts of criminal mischief second degree was nullified by the court. Counsel, did you and your client receive the parole violation notice and all the other documents that have been identified?
Yes.
In addition, I have received an exhibit from you as well, Exhibit 1, a list of parole accomplishments and future plans for parole reinstatement. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Do you need any additional time to submit other evidence?
No.
So we do not have any witnesses today, so it is now the defense's opportunity to call any witnesses, present evidence, and to speak to the charges and to the charge and any of the evidence submitted.
Yes, just briefly on the first part of the hearing. Hector, the parole officer charged you with absconding on June 24th of 2024, correct? That's the date you know of?
See, yeah,
Okay. Could you let the hearing examiner know approximately 4 to 5 days earlier, June 19th, June 20th of 2024, what happened?
well, before I found out that my mom passed away, a couple of days before that, they called me. I got a call from a family member saying that my mom had been in the hospital. So when I was like, I was gonna go to work on that time, but I just felt like I needed to be away from everybody because I was scared. You know, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. So I didn't go to work at all. So by me not going to work, I stood in downtown in New Haven, just chilling, thinking, trying to clear my mind out to see what I could do, because I don't, you know, it's my first time, you know, it's my mom, you know, so.
Okay, and your mom passed away approximately when, if you recall the date? I believe you said June 19th, June 20th, correct?
Yeah, around there, yes, I got the paperwork.
Okay, and regarding that paperwork, when I spoke to you, the paperwork you're talking about was the obituary, correct?
Yes, the her picture.
Correct. And at that time, I believe you had P.O. Morton.
Yes,
Okay, did you show your parole officer the obituary?
I showed him that the picture of on the phone.
Okay, of the obituary.
Yeah,
Okay, and did you also show that picture or whatever you had to the staff at the halfway house?
yeah, I showed Ron.
Okay, that's the person at the halfway house, Ron.
That's the halfway house director.
Director, okay. At the Walter Brooks, correct?
Yes, his name is
Okay.
Ron.
Okay. Yeah, charge number 3 under halfway house placement, Hector, you did return that same day approximately 9 p.m. though, correct?
Yes,
And you got written up for being unaccounted in the community.
yes.
Okay. And charge number 2, I would just put on the record, I do concur with the addendum you put on the record. I have the same information. I just wanted to give you some background regarding the absconder charge. I know he, not disputing he left, but his mother passed was about 4 to 5 days prior to that. He did show Ron at the Walter Brooks halfway house obituary, and I believe at that time, I have P.O. Silva, but I think it was Morton he was with at the time. He did also show the parole officer what had occurred 4 to 5 days prior to this.
Thank
Thank
you. Great, so for charge number 1, Mr. Cruz, I am finding that you violated the condition of absconder based on the evidence presented in State's Exhibits C, H, and J. On charge number 2, I do find that you violated the condition of obedience to the law based on your conviction on December 11th, 2024, of violation of protective order where you were sentenced to 10 months in jail, and breach of peace second, with you were sentenced to unconditional discharge. In addition, I feel that the State's Exhibits C, I, and J also support the charge. And lastly, I am finding that you violated the condition of halfway house based on the evidence provided in Exhibits C, D, F, G, and J. So that does conclude the fact-finding portion of the hearing. Before I make my recommendation, you will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history. So counsel, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, on behalf of Mr. Cruz, my understanding, according to the documents, this is my client's first violation. He was out from November of 2023. It was not remanded until August 13th of 2024. My client is 28 years old. Upon his release, discretionary parole, he was at the Project Moore halfway house. He was there obviously until he was remanded. He did have a full-time job at Milford Barrel in New Haven. He worked from 7 in the morning to 4 p.m. for approximately 5 months. He did report to us he was participating in outpatient mental health services, group therapy, twice weekly, Tuesdays and Thursdays at Cornell Scott Health Center in New Haven. He did start the Explore program. He believes he did about 6 or 7 out of the 26 classes. It was also reported to us, participated in weekly substance abuse group and worked with a recovery coach named Carlos at Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery in New Haven. He was on the wait list to work in the kitchen at the Osborn Correctional Facility. He's amenable to being placed in a halfway house either in Bridgeport or New Haven. He does want to get his GED, does want to obtain a forklift license and obtain a CDL. He's indicated to us he's eligible to return to his full-time job at Milford Barrow, and he's amenable to any treatment recommendations. As I indicated, he was involved in treatment while out in the community. He was not violated for not doing any treatments. It's obviously left the halfway house, and the new charge is probably the bigger issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you got my recommendations, I think. So I did listen to today's testimony, and I have also reviewed all the evidence that has been presented. And with that, I am going to recommend you, Mr. Cruz, that your parole be revoked and that you do not have a re-parole date, and you serve an approximate 14-month sanction of confinement with a new, because your EOS is October 10th, 2025. So that is what I'm going to recommend to the board. I'm also going to recommend the following conditions in case they choose to lessen my recommended sanction. So I'm going to recommend the conditions of no alcoholic beverage consumption, a behavioral management program for domestic violence, no contact with your victims AA and AM, and halfway house placement in Bridgeport. So that is my recommendation. My recommendation will go to the board on February 20th, and you'll receive a written notice after that date. So at that hearing on the 20th, the board can do 3 things. No, they can't. They can do 2 things. They can either lessen my recommended sanction or they can let it stand. Okay. So you'll receive in the mail.
So Hector, yeah, go ahead.
What does that mean?
She recommended, as I advised you over the phone, what I anticipated was going to happen at this hearing. She's giving you the date that you got for your court sentence, which is October 10th of 2025. So on that date, your parole supervision ends and your court sentence ends, and you're not on supervision any longer. You have your probation to deal with, but as far as parole supervision, everything is going to end on October 10th of 2025. So you have one date for both.
Okay, so.
But it's going, hold on, it's going to the board, as I advised you also. Whatever the outcome here, that 3-member panel of the Board of Pardons and Parole is going to review it on February 20th. There is a chance that they can lower it, but we won't know that until it goes. So you and I will get something in writing about a week after February 20th. It'll tell you what the final outcome is, with the anticipation that it's going to be October 10th of 2025, where supervision and the court sentence both end on the same date. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If not, give me a phone, give me a call after February 20th. I'll know what the board did. I can explain to you a little more over the telephone, okay?
Okay, so I gotta stay here till October. I gotta do my whole time.
For the court sentence, yes, because that's also the court sentence, October 10th, 2025.
So no more halfway houses?
No, not if the board adopts the recommendation, no. After
Okay.
October 10th, you just got to report to your probation.
Okay, so I'm here till October 10th. That's what I just want to.
Yes, as of right now, yes, but you have to wait to get confirmation on February 20th.
Okay,
All right, good luck to you.
thank you.
This concludes the revocation hearing for Hector Cruz, and number 414-957.
Yes.
All set?
Well said. Thank you.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Ms. Benedict, am I still live streamed? Where's Kristen? Good morning, I'm here the Examiner's Trust Fellow for the Board of Pardons and Paroles, and I am on the record. It is 10 a.m. And it is for case Vanshawne Wheeler and number 408320. This hearing will not be seen today as his attorney waived the preliminary hearing for his pending charges. So that is for today, and his revocation hearing will be scheduled upon conclusion of his pending charges. I'm now going off the record. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, February 4th, 2025, and I'm hearing Examiner Trisella for the Board of Pardons and Paroles. I'm here to address the case with Mr. George Figueroa, inmate number 192694. This case has been continued and will be heard on February 18th, 2025. Good morning, I'm hearing examiner Trisella from the Board of Pardons and Paroles, and I am addressing the case of Marcus Evans. This case was waived by the offender's attorney. Therefore, his revocation hearing will be scheduled upon the disposition of all pending charges. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rogers. So we
Yes,
can't-
ma'am.
Yeah, so just have a seat. We can't start until exactly 11, so we have about 4 minutes, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I'll be with you shortly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get started. So I'm Parole Officer Giselle. I'm a hearing examiner for the Board of Pardons and Paroles. And this is a preliminary hearing concerning Henry Rogers, inmate number 335688. Today is Tuesday, February 4th, 2025, and this hearing is being conducted via video at the Board of Pardons and Paroles Central Office and Corrigan Correctional Center. Can you please state your full name and DOC inmate number for the record?
My name is Henry Allen Rogers, Senior, 335688.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing and public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. This is a preliminary hearing and it has three purposes under Connecticut law. The first is to determine if there's probable cause to believe you committed an act that violated the conditions of your parole. The second is to determine if the act is sufficiently serious to warrant the revocation of your parole. And the third is to determine if you should be held in prison pending further proceedings. The state, not you, has a responsibility to show that there is probable cause to believe that you violated one or more of the conditions of your parole. If I do not find probable cause, I will reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I do find probable cause and determine that the act is sufficiently serious to warrant a revocation, you may be held in prison pending further proceedings. You should know that a preliminary hearing is an adversarial proceeding, and anything you say at this hearing can be used against you, and this hearing is also being recorded. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. So, Mr. Rogers, can you please raise your right hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God upon penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So we're going to go over the procedure for the hearing. You can put your head down. Thank you. So first, I'm going to read you your rights. Then we're going to review the parole violation charges that the state your parole officer is bringing against you. I'll then review and identify the exhibits that have been filed for the record. The state is not present on today's proceedings. However, you will have an opportunity to address the issue of probable cause and the severity of the allegations. At the conclusion of the hearing, I will inform you of my findings, which will be based on the available evidence. And that's about it. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm all
So
set. Thank you.
All right. So you do have important rights for this hearing, and we're going to review them now. So the first right you have is you have the right to be represented by an attorney at this hearing. You may hire your own attorney, and if you cannot afford an attorney, you may qualify for an appointed attorney to represent you. Were you informed that an attorney can represent you at this hearing?
Yes, and I answered no, ma'am.
Okay. So you are willing to move forward today without any legal representation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there are other options to today's hearing. So one is that you can waive conceding to probable cause, which would then cancel today's hearing, and you would just move forward once your cases are disposed of in court. Or we can move forward again. I'm just confirming that you want to move forward without representation. Or we can move forward today without you having any legal representation.
Well, I'm being held for the drinking and the fact that I got arrested. I don't think it really matters why I got arrested. From my understanding, that I won't be released until this case is resolved.
Correct. So, I mean, that's the idea
And
of
I'm
it.
comfortable, and I'm comfortable with that.
So for today's preliminary purposes, we can go through the whole thing and I can make findings of probable cause, even though it seems like a court has already done it. Or you can waive today's hearing if you want to do so. We'll stop the hearing. All it's saying is that you are waiving your right to the attorney to address the charges with me.
Yes, but I just have one question before I waive it, if it can be answered.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, if I get a PTA from court, will I be reinstated right away by parole, or will I come back to Corrigan and have another hearing as I'll be PTA'd from the court in the future, maybe, if that's a possibility? Will I automatically be?
No, because
Yes,
special
ma'am.
parole will hold you.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'll have another hearing?
You'll have a hearing once your case is dismissed in court. But we can
So
go through
there'll
today's
be,
hearing and I can establish probable cause on our terms. But you do have that pending charge. So
I understand that, but if I'm PTA from the court, I'll still be held from special parole. No,
Yeah.
so basically I'll be held until the case is resolved, period. Whether I take a plea bargain or whatever the case may be, I'm comfortable with that. I just needed that answer. I kind of figured that much.
yeah, so unfortunately, because you have that case pending, the judge has found probable cause. We do have to wait out the outcome at this point.
No,
So
I needed to get off the streets anyhow.
okay, all right. So are you willing? Are you wanting to move forward with the waiving of today's preliminary hearing, or would you like to?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I think I'm just gonna waive it and have my day in court. And then once that's resolved, whenever that may be, and then I'll deal with parole again. May I ask another question on that?
Absolutely.
How, hypothetically speaking, in 1 year, my case is resolved, whether I take it to trial, whatever. How far after you guys get the paperwork saying Mr. Rogers took a plea bargain or this is the outcome, will I get another hearing?
So your parole officer that you're reporting to in the community has to notify us. So once they send us notification that your case is concluded, we can then schedule you. Normally they're being scheduled within a month or two of us being notified for that revocation hearing, but it does have to happen once we get notification from the field officer that you reported to. So
Okay.
ideally, so I can't tell you specifically. Ideally, we get notice.
No.
I want to say
I mean-
2 weeks.
I
Ideally,
mean,
best.
you pretty much answered it. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know, I
Yeah.
guess it depends how busy things get, you know, so that's it.
And so, I mean, if it takes a year, unfortunately, it will take that year. But ideally, once they follow your case, from my understanding, and they'll notify us once they get that disposition, and then we'll get you back on the docket. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Rogers, at that revocation hearing, if you are going to seek an attorney, get in contact with the public defender's office and file an application before it's scheduled. Okay.
I believe I did when I was arraigned for counsel.
For parole. It's the parole revocation unit. It's different.
Oh, from Waterbury?
Yep. Did you send it
I
to
have the
them?
application. I have the application sent to me already. So
Okay.
what you're saying is, I thought they sent it for this hearing, but from what I'm understanding, what you're saying is, once I come to terms with the case that I'm now facing, once that is established and I leave court and Mr. Rogers pleaded out, or we went to, whatever the case is, at that moment, submit my paperwork for an attorney for the revocation hearing?
If you're interested in legal representation and attorney, you can send it in this week if you want to. They did probably send it ahead of time so you could have someone here today, but it sounded like you weren't sold on
No,
it.
I didn't need someone today. I mean,
Yeah.
the facts are is, one, I was drinking, two, I got charged with
I
something.
don't want you to talk. You have a pending court case. I don't want you to incriminate yourself. Everything you can say
I'm
can be used against you.
I'm not incriminating myself, but
You deal with
okay.
that in court.
Yes, ma'am.
100%.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't give me anything. I don't want
Yes,
to hear
ma'am.
it. You're willing to wait today. I just want you can send in that application to
I
Waterbury
will do so.
for an attorney for your revocation hearing.
I will do so.
All right. So I'm just going to repeat it one more time. This is Mr. Rogers, inmate number 335-688, and he has chosen to waive his preliminary hearing on the record. Is that accurate, Mr. Rogers?
Yes, ma'am. I'm waiving my hearing.
Great. So this does conclude the preliminary hearing for Henry Rogers, and I'm going off the record. All right, you're all set, Mr. Rogers. So once that's all concluded, we'll see you again.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Take care. Good luck and have a good day.
You too as well.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. My apologies. I just got up. So this was the hearing. This was the hearing from yesterday. Right now, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. I'm gonna start it back up. We're gonna be going into the Utah Board of Paroles. Just give me a moment. I'll be back. Stream is stuck. Come on now. What the what?